In the cold darkness of the outer solar system, there exists a world that defies every known rule of silence and cosmic stillness. Welcome to Io. This satellite of Jupiter is a place where death and rebirth occur every single second, characterized by its chaotic colors and its violent, ever-changing volcanic landscapes. As our spacecraft approaches, the true nature of this hellish moon becomes clear, revealing a surface that looks more like a painting than a solid rock. There is no peace here, only the constant roar of a moon that is being torn apart from the inside by forces beyond our human imagination. The air here is a lethal cocktail of sulfur and gas, forming a temporary atmosphere that clings to the surface before escaping into the vacuum of space. Io orbits the king of planets, a tiny speck of fire caught in the gravitational grip of a giant that never sleeps, creating a deadly cosmic dance. Every inch of this ground is covered in the chemical remnants of volcanic activity, painted in shades of brimstone and fire by the moon's internal heat. Dark rivers of cooled stone stretch across the plains, marking the paths where liquid fire once flowed freely across this tormented and beautiful alien world today. Even from hundreds of miles away, the sheer power of the volcanic eruptions can be felt, shaking the very foundation of this small but mighty moon. In the shadows, where the heat of the lava does not reach, the temperature drops so low that the very air freezes onto the ground as snow. This is a world of extreme contrasts, where the freezing cold of space meets the blistering heat of the moon's interior in a constant, violent struggle. We are witnessing the most geologically active object in our solar system, a place where the landscape is rewritten by lava every few thousand years. The colors we see are clues to the intense chemistry happening below, where sulfur is cooked into various forms by the incredible temperatures found deep underground. Massive flows of silicate lava, similar to those found on Earth, but on a much larger scale, create the foundation of Io's ever-evolving volcanic surface. The minerals here are pure and primitive, born from the depths of the moon, and deposited in a vacuum where they form beautiful, crystalline structures. If we could read the layers of this rock, we would find a history of violence and fire that spans back billions of years to Io's formation. At any given moment, hundreds of volcanoes are erupting simultaneously, making this moon a giant pressure cooker that is constantly venting its internal thermal energy. The interaction between the volcanic gases and the harsh space environment creates a ghost-like glow that haunts the moon's thin and highly radioactive atmosphere. Beneath the bright yellow surface lies a dark heart of molten rock, ready to burst forth and reclaim the land whenever the internal pressure becomes too great. Even the impact of space debris cannot leave a permanent mark here, as the constant volcanic activity quickly erases any craters left by incoming cosmic rocks. Jupiter's presence is overwhelming, a constant reminder of the physical forces that govern everything on Io, from its volcanoes to its very orbit and movement. The landscape is a living laboratory of chemistry, where heat and pressure transform simple elements into the complex, colorful tapestry that we see from space. These plumes are the breath of the moon, carrying sulfur and salt into the void, feeding the massive torus of plasma that surrounds the gas giant. When the sun goes down, the true fire of Io is revealed, as the glowing lava flows become the primary source of light on this dark world. This is a land where the Earth itself is alive with rage, a place where the concept of geological stability simply does not exist for long. Io does not burn on its own, it is being crushed. Caught in a gravitational tug-of-war between Jupiter and the other moons, it is constantly distorted. The solid crust of Io rises and falls by as much as 100 meters every single day, forced by the immense gravity of its neighbors. This constant kneading of the moon's interior creates an incredible amount of friction, turning solid rock into a boiling sea of magma deep below the surface. The heat generated is so intense that it melts the very core of the moon, creating a reservoir of energy that must eventually find a way. Under such extreme pressure, the crust of the moon eventually snaps, opening gargantuan fissures that bleed liquid fire across the multicolored sulfur plains of Io. The moons, Europa and Ganymede act as cosmic hammers, striking Io with their gravity and keeping its orbit eccentric, which fuels the never-ending volcanic cycle. Imagine a world made of clay being squeezed by a giant hand. That is the physical reality for every rock and mountain on this tortured moon. The pressure is so high that lava is shot toward the surface like water from a fire hose, carving paths through the stone with sheer force. Earthquakes here are constant and devastating, vibrating through the moon's frame as the gravitational battle between the gas giant and its moons continues to rage. Mountains on Io are not created by slow plates like on Earth, but are thrust upward by the violent tilting and breaking of the moon's crust. The tidal heating is the engine of Io, a powerhouse that generates 20 times more heat than all the radioactive decay inside the Earth's own core. This is a world that is literally turning itself inside out, recycling its crust over and over as the heat from the core forces its way. If our eyes could see heat, Io would be the brightest object in the Jovian system, glowing with the energy of 1,000 underground suns combined. The moon is hollowed out by massive chambers of molten stone, creating a subterranean landscape that is even more terrifying than the surface we see above. Nothing is permanent on Io. The very ground you might stand on could melt and flow away in an instant, replaced by a fresh layer. Even the quiet areas are under stress, waiting for the moment when the orbital alignment shifts and the gravity of Jupiter begins to pull again. The mechanical energy of the orbit is converted directly into heat, a process so efficient that it keeps the moon's heart forever in a liquid. Gravity is the invisible hand that molds this world, a force so powerful it can bend solid rock like a piece of soft, warm wax. These paterae are the windows into the moon's burning soul, giant basins where the internal heat is vented into the coldness of the outer space. The entire planet acts as a single organism, breathing and moving in response to the massive gravitational environment it calls home in the Jovian system. The mountains here can reach heights greater than any on Earth, pushed up by the internal pressure that seeks any weakness in the moon's fragile. At the surface, exotic forms of sulfur burn with strange, ghostly flames, adding to the hellish and otherworldly atmosphere of this incredibly violent volcanic satellite. Ash from the eruptions can stay airborne for days, slowly settling down to coat the land in a fresh layer of volcanic dust and minerals. In the low gravity of Io, lava fountains reach heights that would be impossible on Earth, creating spectacular displays of light and raw planetary power. Even in this chaos, there is a delicate beauty to be found in the crystals that grow on the edges of the moon's many thermal vents. These natural pipes carry the lifeblood of the moon across vast distances, hidden beneath the surface, where they maintain their incredible heat and liquid state. When the moon is quiet, the landscape can look serene, but this is only a temporary mask for the violence that is brewing just miles below. The very fabric of the moon is in a state of constant transition, as solid ground is consumed by the heat and turned back into liquid. The air is thick with the scent of sulfur, a chemical signature that defines the moon's identity and its place in the complex Jovian planetary system. Gravity eventually takes its toll, as the heavy crust collapses into the hollow spaces left by the magma that has been erupted onto the surface. Io is not just a physical world, but an electrical one, interacting with the space around it in ways that no other moon in our system. Below the colorful sulfur lies a world of dark, heavy basalt, the same kind of rock that forms the ocean floors here on our home. From a distance, it looks fragile, but up close, it is a world of immense power, a survivor of billions of years of gravitational torture. Even the dormant peaks tell a story of a violent past, waiting for the moment when the pressure below will force them back into action. Io is a heat engine, a world that is constantly losing energy to space, only to have it replenished by the tidal forces of giant Jupiter. The sky above Io is often filled with falling debris, a rain of rock and ash that reshapes the surface with every single volcanic explosion. When the heat meets the cold, the result is explosive, a reminder of the two extremes that define life or the lack of it on this moon. On the horizon, the moon's fury is always visible, a constant display of power that reminds us of the dynamic nature of our very vast universe. Imagine a pillar of smoke 60 times higher than Mount Everest, where weak gravity allows hellish fountains to spray sulfur across the entire moon's surface. As the gases from the plumes cool in the vacuum, they freeze into tiny particles, falling back to the surface like a golden, toxic snow. Loki Patera is an ocean of fire, a vast lake of molten rock, where huge islands of solid stone float on a sea of liquid magma. These islands are constantly being created and destroyed, sinking back into the depths as the heat from below melts them from the bottom up again. The volcano Pele is a giant among giants, surrounded by a red ring of sulfur that can be seen even from the farthest reaches of space. Inside these plumes, the pressure and speed are immense, as material is ejected from the moon's interior at speeds exceeding 1 kilometer every single second. The sudden transition from ice to gas creates spectacular white clouds that dance around the lava flows, adding to the moon's complex and haunting beauty. Io is a world of constant change, where an area that was flat yesterday can become a towering volcano today, driven by the moon's inner. Waterfalls of fire carve paths through the sulfur plains, creating a landscape that looks like a vision of hell brought to life in the cosmos. The force of the eruption is so great that it can shake the entire moon, sending tremors that are felt for thousands of miles across the Tavashter craters are a chain of fire, a series of linked volcanoes that together create one of the most active regions on the moon. Slow and unstoppable, the lava flows consume everything in their path, turning the frozen sulfur into gas and the solid ground into a liquid river. Even without a real atmosphere, the sheer volume of gas from the volcanoes can create local winds that blow the toxic dust across the moon. In the dark of the Jovian night, the volcanoes of Io are like beacons, shining with the light of the moon's never-ending internal geological fire. The chemistry of Io is a violent dance of elements, where sulfur, oxygen, and silicate rocks are mixed together in a crucible of intense heat. Not all the liquid on Io is lava. Lakes of molten sulfur can form, creating pools of strange colors that dot the moon's yellow landscape. As the ash reaches the upper limits of the moon's influence, it is bombarded by radiation, turning the dust into a glowing, electrified plasma cloud. Every eruption must eventually come to an end, as the lava cools and seals the vent, only for the pressure to build up elsewhere. Ra Patera is a masterpiece of volcanic architecture, with its flows creating a symmetrical pattern that can be seen from high in the moon's orbit. Hidden beneath the crust are vast networks of tunnels, where lava flows for miles without losing its heat, protected from the cold of space. The color of the sulfur tells us its temperature. Red is hot, while yellow is cold, creating a thermal map made of the moon's minerals. In the complex dance of the Jovian moons, Io is the star, a world of fire that stands out against the icy moons that surround. The low gravity makes the eruptions last longer and reach further, turning every volcanic event into a spectacular and long-lasting display of planetary power. The moon is constantly hissing, a sound of gas escaping from the depths that would be deafening if there were an atmosphere to carry it. The landscape is being filled and leveled, as the lava fills in the low points and creates new, flat plains across the moon's rugged surface. Prometheus is a steady worker, a volcano that has been erupting continuously since we first saw it, providing a window into the moon's heart. Rapid cooling creates glass-like surfaces that shine in the sunlight, adding a dark and reflective quality to the moon's already complex and varied terrain. The gases of Io are as colorful as its rocks, creating a hazy and ethereal environment that is both beautiful and incredibly hostile to life. Zal Patera is a fortress of stone and fire, where the tallest peaks of Io overlook a sea of molten rock that never truly sleeps. In the vacuum, the explosions are silent, but the visual power is immense, as the pent-up gases from the moon's interior are finally released. Sulfur flows differently than lava, moving with a viscous grace that creates unique patterns on the ground as it slowly cools and solidifies here. For a brief moment, the moon can look peaceful, but the reflection is just another part of the beautiful and deadly chaos that is Io. The ash is the ultimate recycler, burying the old surface and providing the materials for the next generation of volcanic activity and mineral formation. There are no empty spaces on Io. Every square mile is part of some volcanic system, either active, dormant, or waiting to be born again. The light of the sun reveals the structure of the plumes, showing the delicate and complex way that matter is ejected from the moon's interior. Inside the crater, the heat is absolute, a raw and powerful force that reminds us of the energy that drives all the planetary geological processes. The fire of Io is a never-ending show, a display of cosmic energy that has been running for billions of years without ever losing its. This is the land of the fire plumes, a world that is defined by its ability to shoot its own heart into the cold void. Temperatures here can reach 1300 degrees Celsius, making Io the only place besides Earth with flowing rivers of molten rock in the solar system. The heat is so intense that the very vacuum seems to ripple, as the radiation from the liquid rock heats the thin gases near the surface. When fire meets ice on Io, the reaction is instantaneous and violent, as the liquid rock vaporizes the frozen gases into a massive pressure explosion. As the lava travels, it begins to cool, forming a fragile skin of rock that hides the raging liquid fire still flowing just inches beneath. In the low gravity, these falls of liquid fire move with a terrifying grace, creating massive curtains of orange light that illuminate the dark moon. The surface of the magma is a living, breathing thing, constantly moving and releasing the gases that are trapped deep within the moon's boiling interior. Io's surface is a jigsaw puzzle of fire, where vast regions are covered by oceans of magma that are miles deep and incredibly wide across. Subterranean rivers of fire act as the plumbing system of Io, transporting heat from the core to the surface with incredible speed and raw power. Nothing can stand in the way of the lava. It consumes the landscape, erasing the old world and replacing it with a fresh layer of. The eruptions are tied to the very heartbeat of the moon, pulsing in rhythm with the gravitational pulls of the giant planet and its neighbors. The shapes the lava makes are art in motion, twisting and turning into complex patterns that cool into a permanent record of the moon's fury. At night, the contrast is even more striking, as the heat of the lava meets the absolute cold of the sulfur snow falling from above. The moon is a war zone of fire and stone, where every eruption sends tons of material flying through the air to reshape the distant. The physics of Io are unique, as multiple states of matter collide in a region where heat and cold exist side by side in chaos. Some of these lava rivers have been flowing for generations, carving deep canyons into the moon's crust that rival the great rivers of our Earth. Lakes of lava go through cycles of cooling and sinking, a process that constantly renews the surface and releases massive amounts of thermal energy. The lava is a master sculptor, melting and reshaping the sulfur mountains into new and strange forms that can only be found on this moon. In some places, the lava moves with the speed of a rushing river, a terrifying torrent of liquid rock that would be impossible to outrun. For a moment, the world of fire looks like a world of glass, as the smooth surfaces of the cooling lava reflect the distant sun. The interaction of the minerals creates a spectrum of fire, where the red of the magma meets the vibrant colors of the moon's chemical surface. Each fountain is a fountain of life and death for the moon, bringing the internal energy out and distributing it across the vast and frozen landscape. These volcanoes are massive, covering areas as large as countries, a testament to the sheer volume of material that Io has erupted over eons. The fire follows the laws of fluid dynamics, creating whirlpools and eddies of molten stone that are as beautiful as they are incredibly destructive. The environment is filled with sharp and dangerous materials, from the volcanic glass that covers the ground to the toxic gases that fill the. Nature creates its own structures here, bridges and arches of stone that survive just long enough before the next flow of magma consumes them. The haze is a constant companion to the lava, a ghostly reminder of the chemical reactions that are happening every time the fire meets air. The cooling process creates geometric patterns, where the rock cracks as it shrinks, creating a mosaic of stone that covers the moon's wide plains. Hiaka Patera is a giant among craters, a place where the scale of the volcanic activity is almost too large for the human mind to. The diversity of the eruptions is incredible, ranging from silicate lava to liquid sulfur, each adding its own unique color and texture to Io. Like a river meeting the sea, the lava spreads out and slows down, building up new land and expanding the moon's already vast volcanic. Even the most violent forces can create delicate patterns, as the lava leaves its mark on the land in the form of these beautiful. The light of the sun brings out the details of the moon's surface, showing the textures of the rock and the power of the heat. Some eruptions are so massive they can be seen by telescope from Earth, a reminder that Io is the most active world in our. The ground is never safe on Io, as the structures built by the lava are often hollow and prone to sudden and violent structural collapse. In the quiet corners of the moon, crystals of silicate and sulfur grow to massive sizes, fueled by the heat and the abundance of chemicals. Dawn on Io is a spectacular event, as the light of the gas giant meets the light of the moon's internal fire in the sky. The rivers of fire are the lifeblood of this moon, a world that is defined by its ability to stay molten in the cold space. Io is never truly alone, as it remains connected to Jupiter by a massive current of millions of amperes flowing through the vacuum of space. The volcanic material ejected by Io is transformed into a stream of particles that strike Jupiter's atmosphere, creating a permanent and glowing electrical footprint. Every second, Io loses a ton of material to space, feeding a massive ring of plasma that encircles Jupiter and influences its entire magnetic environment. The radiation here is 1,000 times stronger than what is needed to kill a human, making this one of the deadliest places in space. The collisions between sulfur atoms and high-energy electrons create spectacular auroras that light up the thin Jovian moon's atmosphere during the long, cold nights. The surface is constantly being sandblasted by high-speed ions, which break down the minerals and contribute to the thin, toxic haze surrounding the volcanic world. This electromagnetic connection is a cosmic umbilical cord, through which Io provides the energy for some of the most powerful radio emissions in space. When a large volcano erupts, the entire plasma ring reacts, vibrating like a plucked string and sending waves of energy throughout the giant Jovian system. The flux tube is an invisible highway for particles, carrying billions of watts of power between the moon and its massive, swirling gas giant parent. Even the stones on the ground glow with an eerie light, as the constant bombardment of radiation causes the minerals to shine in the dark. The combination of volcanic fire and magnetic light makes Io a visual masterpiece, a place where the forces of geology and physics meet perfectly. Io is one of the loudest objects in the radio sky, screaming with the energy of its volcanic heart and its magnetic connection to Jupiter. The plasma environment is dynamic and ever-changing, a reflection of the moon's own chaotic and unpredictable volcanic activity that fuels the entire Jovian magnetic. Io's influence extends far beyond its own orbit, affecting the other moons of Jupiter and providing the material that coats their frozen and icy surfaces. Without Io, Jupiter would be a much quieter planet, as the moon provides the majority of the particles that fill the giant's massive magnetic field. The plumes are not just affected by gravity. The charged particles in the dust are pulled and pushed by the powerful magnetic forces of the system. Exploring Io is a suicide mission for most machines, as the intense radiation destroys sensitive electronics and clouds the lenses of our most advanced. The chemistry of the moon is transformed by the physics of space, turning simple sulfur into a glowing, electrified gas that haunts the moon's orbit. If you could stand on Io, you would see the sky dancing with light, a constant display of the moon's deep connection to the giant planet. The torus is a reservoir of energy, a place where the moon's volcanic heart is transformed into a magnetic force that can be felt for. The moon is under constant bombardment, as the particles it loses to space are accelerated and sent crashing back into its own fragile volcanic surface. They are a binary system of energy, a planet, and a moon, locked in an eternal struggle of gravity, fire, and powerful electromagnetic forces together. The transformation is complete, as the solid rock of the moon becomes the electrified gas of the Jovian system, traveling across the entire planetary environment. Even the weather on Io is electromagnetic, with storms of light and energy that can be more powerful than any storm found here on Earth. From the poles of Jupiter, the signature of Io is unmistakable, a beacon of light that tells the story of the moon's constant volcanic activity. The scale of the energy is immense, as the smallest particles are accelerated to incredible speeds by the powerful magnetic fields of the giant Jovian. The interaction is constant, as the moon's geological activity and its magnetic environment are locked in a feedback loop of light and powerful energy. Even the sun plays a role, as its wind interacts with the Jovian magnetic field to create a complex and ever-changing environment for the volcanic moon. The moon is a world of unnatural colors, where the light of the fire is matched by the light of the radiation and the chemicals. Every movement of the moon creates a ripple in the field, a signal that can be heard by our telescopes millions of miles away from. This is the true legacy of Io, a moon that is not just a world of fire, but a world of light and cosmic power. As we leave this world of fire, we look back at a satellite that has redefined our understanding of planetary energy and geologically active cosmic bodies. In the darkness, the moon's internal fury is even more apparent, a world that refuses to cool down in the freezing vacuum of deep space. When Voyager first looked at Io, it expected a dead, cratered moon, but instead, it found a world that was very much alive, with geological. Each mission has revealed more of the moon's secrets, showing us a landscape that is more complex and more violent than we ever could imagine. With today's technology, we can see the heart of the fire with more clarity, mapping the flows of lava and the rise of the mountains. Studying Io is more than just studying volcanoes. It is about understanding the fundamental forces that shape every world in our vast and mysterious solar. Out here, so far from the warmth of the sun, Io's fire is a miracle of physics, a testament to the power of tidal forces, and even when the volcanoes rest, the moon is a place of beauty, where the remnants of past fury are preserved in the freezing cold of. Io stands as a reminder that the universe is never static, but is a place of constant motion, change, and incredible planetary volcanic activity, and the legacy of these volcanoes is written in the sulfur and rock of the moon, a story of energy that will continue for billions of years. Even in the shadow of its master, Io shines with its own light, a world that generates its own destiny through the heat of its. Every particle of this moon has been through the fire, recycled through the core, and thrown into space to become part of the Jovian system. Io is the first of many worlds we will explore, a bridge between the inner planets we know and the mysterious outer reaches of our. The rage of the moon is its greatest gift to science, providing a natural laboratory where we can watch the birth of planets in real. We leave with more questions than answers, but with a new respect for the power and the beauty of the most active moon in space. Io is a small part of a much larger story, a single flame in a universe that is filled with wonders waiting to be found, and the heart of fire beats on, a silent engine of creation and destruction that will outlast our own presence in this vast and cold solar. Our journey to the outer planets is just beginning, and Io will always be the bright, burning beacon that guides us into the unknown space. Io remains a land of fury and a masterpiece of creation, a fiery heart beating in the cold void, reminding us of the universe's infinite power.